Evening all, thanks for coming. I haven't done this presentation in front of anyone, so bear with me. Hopefully it's of interest, but we'll see. So I kind of wanted to talk about my progression from getting into paragliding through competitions and things I've learned. So if it can help people who are interested, give them more information, great. But yeah, so quick thing about me and my experience. So I've been flying since September 2021 when I've got my CP. I've got 336 hours approximately overall. I did 120 hours this year. I've managed to get away quite a bit, which has been nice, and do more XC than I have previously. In terms of wings, I've only flown 2 wings. I don't have a massive amount of experience on any other than a low B and my Kuma, which is my current wing, which is a high B. Harnesses, I've had a couple. Started out with Jingo like 4, which is kind of like my school harness. It's open, has a seat plate. It was great, but when I first started, I found it felt like I was sliding around in the seat port quite a bit. So I decided to switch over to the Skywalk Breeze, which is like more of a hammock style, no seat board. Felt really nice. Took that doing SIVs and things like that. It was great harness. Moved on to a pod, partly due to flying in the winter because it gets cold. I didn't want to have to layer up and trudge up a hill with my thermals on. Get to the top of the hill and be absolutely baking hot. I didn't originally want to get a pod with a fairing on the back because I felt like people who had fairings kind of knew what they were doing, and I didn't want to put myself out there. But it's been a great harness. It's done me well. I've recently switched over to the Niviuk Arrow, which is similar to the Air Design, a bit heavier, has a seat plate, and it's kind of mainly the reason I switched over is after doing some SIVs and started to do certain manoeuvres, I always felt like I was having to throw my body around to do some of the manoeuvres, and the instructor at the time suggested it might be seat plate, might give yourself more authority, so that's kind of why I switched over to that harness. Talk about my progression. So when I first got into the sport, I realised that I need to give myself a bit of an idea of where I want to go, because if I didn't have any sort of aims, I felt like I could very easily fall out the sport if I didn't have a goal or some idea where I wanted to go with it. So obviously, when I first started out, I wanted to stay in the air as long as possible. When I first started, I spent a long time bobbing up and down a ridge, but not really going anywhere. I started in September, so kind of end of the season, getting into winter, so the conditions weren't amazing. So just had getting hours flying in to start, and try not to get bored. Next, I went toward working on my pilot tasks, because then I had something to do when I got to the hill, not just getting in the air and spending time. I actually had something to aim for. So practicing firmling, spot landing, things like that. I always had something I wanted could progress with. And then finally worked towards going XC, because that was the thing everyone was talking about. When you get XC, it's totally different flying. So that's kind of what I wanted to get into. Had the vague idea after I started in the sport. And then kind of after that, it was like, well, what else is there? I'd heard when I first did my training, the X Alps was on, and Dean, the instructor, was talking to me about the X Alps and showing me what's possible. So it's just like, well, I'll try anything, see what's out there. So yeah, started out 2022 properly. I started out slow. I purposely wanted to have a slow progression in the sport, because I didn't want to get myself up too overconfident and have an accident, or push myself into a point where I had fear of something that I didn't quite understand. So when I first started out, I kind of just flew without a Vario for a couple of months, and then got my first Vario, but just had it in my pocket, just because I didn't want to distract myself, take bandwidth away from my flying, and then worked towards getting a cockpit, obviously something to look at. If I started wanting to go XC, then I needed something to have in front of me. Finally got the phone on there to do tasks, because tasks are going XC people. I saw people with all these big instruments, and I figured that's something I need to work towards. But just introduce them slowly, but surely as I progress, because don't want to take bandwidth away from the actual flying, which was the thing I wanted to do. And last thing, the pilot task, I mentioned about doing those tasks to give myself a bit of a reason to fly. But I spoke to Simon Bailey on the hill at Parlick once. I don't think it was a suitable flying day, but I'd just gone to Parlick to see what was if it was flyable. And he mentioned about the Northern Challenge. Well, he mentioned about the grid challenge on Parlick. So if you've not seen it, Parlick has grids on the west face, which you can do in sequence and see how far along the grid challenge you can get. And then looking into that, I discovered Ed's Northern Challenge series, which is a series of challenges in the north where you can go to different sites and have a task you can fly. So as soon as he kind of mentioned the Parlick grid challenge and this competition, this task, I was like, this is exactly what I need. If I can only go so far with my pilot tasks and things I need to tick off, but at least with this, I can head to a hill, set up thinking I'm going to go and fly, not going XC because I still wasn't at that point in my flying career, but it kind of starts opening the doors. Like you're looking at a task on your phone and trying to fly with purpose. Also, what I loved about this challenge is when I first started in Parlick, I was just kind of bobbing up and down. The rigs didn't really dare go round to onto Paddy's pole, and with this, it was kind of forcing me to get out of my comfort zone and push further out onto the hill just to see what was possible. So this kind of hooked me on the NCS, just because I could go to a hill that had this challenge on. I knew that I was going to push my fly and get myself out of my comfort zone. So talking to people, as you do on the hill, the LCC came up. So Latest Charity Classic. It's if you've not been to one, it's competition, coaching, and kind of like a bit of a festival where flies from kind of all of the UK, I guess, come together to go fly in the lakes. I think recently there's been bands on, and there's other competitions that have been part of it, and it sounded like great fun. I signed myself up to it straight away. When I first looked at it, I had a couple of options. I could either go into coaching or go into the competition side. The competition was split between A and B comp, so all the top pilots were like in the A comp. So if you were a good pilot or you had a ENC or above, you could go into A comp. If you're on low orbit starting out, B comp was kind of for you. Or there's coaching. I decided to go with the B comp. I was probably at the point where coaching would have been absolutely fine for me, but I figured if I do go for the B comp, the worst thing that might happen is I land. And if it's too much for me, like the competition, I can't quite get it, or there's too many people in the sky, I can always land. I can take myself out of a situation where I might not be comfortable in, which is good. So the competition introduced quite a few different new things for me. So waypoints I hadn't really touched before. With the Northern Challenge series, the task is already defined, or it was for me. Looking at just getting a QR code, loading the task in, I didn't have to do anything. So that was something new. Creating the task, it's something that you could, with the NCS, you had it already defined, but on the hill there was a task that gets designed as you go. So that was something different. Timings, I hadn't come across any sort of time with the task I'd done. It was all down to you dictated when you took off, landed, whatever, or however long it took you to do a flight. It was down to you, so that was new. QR codes, taking a QR code off a website feels slightly different than people designing a task on the hill and creating a QR code that people can use to share that. And another thing is on this particular one, you can start again. So if you had a absolute shocking start, you could go back up and start the task again. So it felt like it was a bit if it was a bit overwhelming, at least I could just sit and do my own thing, or take off, land, and have another go. Yeah. So when we got onto so when I first got there on the day, I'm going to talk about the next thing. So the task board. If you've been to a lot of people, I'm looking at the crowd, probably seen this, familiar with the task board. So this is, if you've not seen it before, this is kind of the what a task board would look like for a competition. It's not always the same, but it's generally got this sort of information on it. So this is an example from a couple of years back. I don't think we actually flew this task, but you can see, so in the top right-hand corner, some really important information. The turning direction. So if we got to a particular hill, we're doing a task on a hill, and we're all taking off, and we're all firmly in different directions, it's potential for not great experience. So on the day, did it dictate whether it's left or right firming direction? And it's generally within a start cylinder, so that everyone's going the same way. There's no confusion, which is always good. Mentioned about if it's single or multiple attempts. A lot of competitions I've done recently have just been single attempts, but I guess some will have multiple. You could try multiple times. Talk about the timings. So we have the window open and close. So this is kind of when you can take off, or when you must have taken off by. So if there's a lot of pilots, you might need quite a long window for all the pilots to take off and get in the air. But obviously you've got to end it at some point. So you've got the 2 times there. The race start. So this is when you can actually start progressing along down the task, which you'll be scored for. If you start doing the task before then, it's not going towards the competition. And it's not to say you can't go out of the start cylinder, or you can fly wherever you want. But if you want to, when the race start begins, you've got to have gone in or out of that start cylinder to start your time. Gate close. So this is when you need to have got to the finish by. So if you've taken 5 hours to do a 3 hours task, you've kind of missed your flying window. Land by time, check-in time, so safety things. You need to be on the ground at some point. If it's a bigger competition, it might be because the retrieves stop at a certain time, or they just want you reporting in. Check-in time, so they know you're safe. At the bottom, you've got the kind of the setup of the task. So all the different waypoints that have been loaded onto your instruments, this is your chance to program it in, program in the task, and have a go at programming it. So you've got the beginning, and at the beginning the SSS, which is that start of speed. Jesus, mine went blank there. Start of speed. So this is the cylinder of where you need to start your task from. So it mentions. It doesn't mention on here. You might have quite a small cylinder or quite a big cylinder. It depends on what the task is like, what the conditions are like. It mentions about turn point type, where it has exit or enter, and this is just the waypoint has. If you start, for example, if you start within a cylinder, it has an exit. It's an exit type. To tag that waypoint, you must be in it at one point and then have come out of it. Same with an enter, you must have like a point within your GPS of you being outside it and then entering it. So that you've got different types of waypoints to put in. End of speed, which is the bottom, which is where you effectively is your when you cross that end of speed, that's when your race kind of finishes. So this is when your time is stopped at, but you've still got to go to goal. So a lot of the time you have a end of speed cylinder, and then inside that you've got a goal, and it just means that you can race to the end of speed, and then you can come off bar, you can relax, and you just think about getting to goal. Even if you don't get super low in your end of speed, if you can get a thermal out to get you, enough height to go to goal, your time is when you get into your end of speed. So there was a lot for me to take on, like trying to understand all of this. My first task was quite intense, along with being on the hill with a lot of different people. So when it got to the competition, I had the choice of, do I program the task or do I take a QR code? I was trying to be a bit independent and stubborn and tried to program the task myself first time on XC track. I don't think I managed it. I struggled with the start speed and the end of speed, trying to program the waypoints correctly. So I ended up taking the QR code. But at this point, I think I decided that I'm going to learn how XC track works. So the programming is all on me. And if I make a mistake, that's on me. But also, if someone passes me a QR code for that competition and it's wrong, then I can at least check it and verify it and correct it, and it's for me to sort out. So the first task I did. This is Wolf Crag in the lakes. This is Clough here. It's quite small. I think it was like a 6K task. It was really, really tiny. The conditions weren't amazing on the day. I think the A comp, they went to Clough. So they had a cylinder up here, I think, and then it went down to Grasmere, so quite a bit different. But I think the conditions were a bit strong, maybe for B group. Basically, I got given a task, a bit of advice, which I took to heart straight away, and decided that I'm going to smash this, going to get myself into goal. Do well, even though I hadn't really done a lot of flying with other people. I'm still quite a nervous flyer, and hadn't really, done a task which is just then dictated. With the Northern Challenge Series, at least I could look at the task beforehand, have an idea of what I might need to look at. And when we first started, there was some pilots who'd programmed in their instruments straight away, just took off in what I thought was quite strong conditions, but for me as a beginner, that's kind of why I thought that. But I now understand, like, from the experience I've had, that just getting into the air is good, because it gives you time to see what the day is like. But for me, it was a bit eye-opening. So the task I flew was this. So you'll see there's different coloured routes, and it's because I had multiple attempts, and a lot of them didn't really go anywhere. So the green and orange is me just rig soaring. I think I landed a couple of times just because I didn't fancy trying to thermal with what I felt was a lot of people at the time. And then the purple was kind of, okay, well, I'm getting a thermal. I'm getting what I thought was enough height to go and do the task. Someone had mentioned to me the most optimal route is just going in a straight line, not really explaining that works if you've got the height or the conditions are good enough for it. Whereas I just avoided all the lift on Wolf Crag, went straight to the turn point, turned back, and then promptly landed, and had to trudge my way up the hill again. So the last one was the cyan colour. That was me, doing a bit better, seeing what other people were doing, actually paying attention, and doing a bit more of the task. Still didn't do more than like 2 or 3 turn points, and then landed. A bit disappointed with my performance, because it felt like everyone else was doing so much better than me. People had gone XC, so it was a bit of a disappointment. But looking back, I wasn't that experienced, so that's fine. When I landed, I didn't quite grasp how the task worked, so I ended up submitted about 5 IGC files, which is all my different tracks, into the chat for someone to score, and like sticks back together. And it was like, no, you get one track log, and that's to be scored. So I think I submitted the wrong one, because I got like no points effectively. I got minimum distance. So I didn't do well on this competition. So I was a bit disheartened. My first comp, I came dead last, and it felt like I didn't do well. But the next couple of days later, I had a redemptive flight. So this was another Northern Challenge Series flight on Pendle, and this day was totally different. It was night and day, and I took what I've kind of learnt from the competition and just tried to apply it here. So one thing that made a massive difference was less pressure. There wasn't that many pilots on the hill, especially not going out front as far as they did, or even if there were, it's a big sky, so you've got plenty of room. Less people, less pressure on me. Conditions were superb, like really thermic. It was great. Did actually go to Topland to talk to someone to get some just to get something signed off for a coaching task, and actually I had quite a big collapse on top of Pendle because it was quite thermic, and it just, I remember it was Phil Wallbank just shouted at me, just go and fly, enjoy the day, and I did, and it was amazing. And yeah, a couple of things I mentioned about learning is, you know, the straight line is the most efficient, but if there isn't anything you go into or you find better lift somewhere else, deviate off that and don't always just go straight for the next turn point if you're in lift. So yeah, this flight I was super happy with quite early on. And I carried on with the Northern Challenge Series, doing more of the tasks, any that I could find on a hill that I was near, I went and flew them. So Barton, I was on Wolf Crag that day, and the forecast was going round, but it was more favourable for Barton in the evening. So I loaded up the task, went for it, didn't do much at all. Got myself down the valley, not really going anywhere, and promptly landed. But I was kind of like, I'll take that 36 points, add it onto the league, and improve my position. Windbank, that was the first time I'd met another pilot, Graham McInerney, who was also going for this, and we both landed where we did down here. You know, I think I landed on one side of the river, he landed on the other side of the river, and it was great because it was like this competition that I'd been having with other people that I'd never met, and it was the first time I'm like, oh, there are people actually, you know, going for this. So it was yeah, it was a really good experience. So I say to anyone who's thinking about, you know, wants to not push yourself, but, you know, learn and well, have something to kind of push your ability or outside of your comfort zone. I think these are great challenges that run, and it's on you to do. You know, you put as much pressure or, as you want on yourself, or not at all, and just have something to do on the day. So 2023, the next year, it's kind of planning out what I wanted to do and what was out there. So Northern Challenge Series, yes, default, going to do that again. That was great. XC League X contest, you know, submitting flights into the National League. I'll give that a whirl, see how well I can do, if I can actually, you know, get some decent flights in there. LCC, yes, do that competition again, because I had loads of fun. Even though I didn't do too well, I'd go for it again. Lakeland, I think it's Lakeland Charity Open at Buttermere Bash, so music festival with a competition on at the same time. Give that a whirl, because it's another competition to do. X Lakes, something different, more hike and fly, so it's more on for the pilot to determine how they want to fly. We'll give that a whirl. And BP Cup, so this was a competition that has been running for a number of years, where they have a UK round and recently they got a European round, and it seemed like a good opportunity to go abroad with people and do some learning, do competition tasks and get some experience. So I was like, I'm not quite sure if I'm up to that level, but I'll speak to Viv because she was at the LCC and see what she thinks about my experience level. So going on to my first class is my first proper XC. So I hadn't previously gotten pilots when I was doing the NCS, so it's a bit naughty of me to do those challenges. Looking at it now, but that class is my first XC. So it was a good-looking day. I decided that I'd go to Parlick and I'd put in my first declared flight. And I was looking up, planning the flight, seeing what was a good option going north. So there's a train station pretty much where I put my dot, I think it's Wennington. So I was like, yeah, do an XC and get my retrieve sorted, or make it easy for myself. And I thought, great, first XC will be a declare, which is more points. I was like, amazing. Can anyone spot the issue with that declare? Oh, well, I should say the minimum distance for a declare in XC League is 25k. I'd forgotten the cylinders. So it was a 24.6k flight. So it didn't count as a declare. I was like trying to submit this declared flight, but it didn't work. So my first flight should have been a 25k declare, but it wasn't. It was just a 10-point flight. But It was great. I think I was flying with John Murphy briefly. He was in orbit above me as I'm trying to catch up thermaling, and I'd missed the first thermal of the day, but managed to get in the second one, which is great. So, yeah, good fun in going XC. And a retrieve was super simple. I got a phone call about 5 minutes after landing saying, do I want a lift, which was always good. So it felt like after that flight, things just started working. The confidence, I had my confidence to go further, and I had a bit more of a ability to get in a thermal, stay in the thermal, and go with it. So this was a phenomenal day for me. So this was one of the challenges on Whernside, another NCS challenge. Another task, which I took off fairly late, and there was quite a few pilots. I think some of the XE Hounds were doing a big triangle. I can't quite remember, but I remember listening on the radio about pilots who were up near Penrith and all sorts. So I knew that the day had potential. But I kind of just planned to do this challenge because I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do. So I finished the challenge coming down here, and I kind of hooked into a bit of a thermal. So I was like, okay, well, let's go north and see what I can do. And I just went with whatever I could get, and I was quite blown away on this flight because I didn't have a plan. I got onto the Howgills, and I kind of couldn't quite decide which way to go. The day looked far better going into lakes, but that part of the lakes I have no idea about, and felt like it might be the bit of the boonies, and I didn't want to get myself stuck there for a couple of hours. So I decided to try to go to T-Bay. Well, I tried to go back, but that was kind of working. So I landed on a very busy main road, which isn't great for getting picked up on, but it all worked out in the end. And looking back, and actually talking to a couple of pilots about this, I see that the retrieve now is like a second part of the adventure. Getting back because it's an unknown, and it's good fun sometimes. Moving on, Lake Lynn Charity Classic, Charity Opens. This is the one based in Buttermere. This particular one, they had two task days. The first one was on Burnbank, which was, I think basically it was take off Burnbank, tag a couple of waypoints and land in Grasmere, nice and simple. I actually, on the flight, looked back, took off within 1 minute of the start window closing. So I had a couple of flights that didn't go too well, landed, and then quickly ran back up the hill and launched within a minute of the window closing, which was all in vain because the task was stopped quite soon afterwards because our ambulance was inbound. So that was kind of written off, but it felt good that I could actually see what I needed to do and be conscious of getting in the air at the right time. And having radio to know about that, because there was quite a few pilots who didn't hear that and just carried on flying, which could have been not great, but it was fine at the time. Task 2, this, I don't know what the task was. I've not got any of the, actually I kind of do, I think. So it was taking off at Dale Head and then going towards, I think it's Bowfell, I think, on the Langdales, heading up to, I think it's Cowbells, I think, and then crossing to Buttermere. This is a phenomenal day. I remember one pilot who was with me from the start. We got stuck on a particular windy valley. I managed to climb out, and he radioed good luck because he'd been pimping me the whole way, which I thought was quite nice. Just a radio message to get. But I was doing this quite scratchy. Wasn't taking the thermals up as high as I should have done, which is pretty typical of me now. So I was scraping myself along the lakes, and I made a bad choice going into the valley where near takeoff. I didn't have enough height to go over the next ridge. I should have come back the way I came, so I ended up stuck in this long valley, getting absolutely battered, and I was least I firmly for a while and getting shook around so much that I was actually physically sick. I discovered that I am a bit, I get a bit nauseous when I get bounced around. So that was a new one for me. So yeah, learning a bit about what route to take, and maybe think about taking safe route back, and not lead side firmly on a day like that, especially with my experience. X-Lakes, so this changes, it seems to change every year slightly, but basically it's hike and fly, where your points are dictated on how many Wainwrights you can reach. So this, I think this is a couple of years back, the one I did had lots of different colours for meant different points, but effectively the further away you go, the more points you get. So if you can run your way around, South Lakes, you're going to get a lot of points, or if you fly, even better. So it's down to you to make which course you do. So it's a lot of if you know the lakes and you can get in the air, stay in the air, you're in a good place. But at the same time, if the conditions are not there, you can run it and score really well. And then you've got an option of the 1 day or 2 day. So the 1 day is just kind of like an academy. You go out, do as many you can, certain amount of time, and get back. Or the 2 day, which is split into the hardcore, which is you're out doing sleeping with the gear you've got, or getting picked up, brought back, or vendors. I think it's just those two. So at the time that you could do the X-Lakes and the LCC at same weekend, so I went and did this. There was only one mandatory point, and that was Sergeant Man, which so just to kind of get all the beginners going the right sort of way for the conditions of the day. And this was the track. So I'm missing the bit in the middle, but effectively I didn't really have a plan. I just kind of followed a lot of other people going up the Langdales, which it was kind of the right thing to do to try and get towards the mandatory turn point, which is up here. So I was discussing this on the way with another pilot, Jack Sewell, who's quite experienced, quite a good pilot now. And he decided that he was going to get in the air straight away and tag the turn point in the air. And I was like, not quite sure I'll have the be aware of it, have that sort of plan, so I'll tag it on the ground and get in the air. And I was using XC track to do this, which the only way to really do this sort of challenge is to put airspace in. The problem with the airspace is if you go through it and come out of it, there's nothing to tell you've already been in it. So quite a few times I tagged the same waypoint multiple times, which is very irritating. But if you don't have the right gear, that happens. So I kind of took off from here because the winners of the day were going to be the people who flew this. So by the time I got to here, there's people had taken off on Constant Old Man and were in orbit. So I'm like, I need to get in the air. But I took off. I was too eager, not patient enough. Couldn't really get anything. So I landed Olcott Town with another experienced pilot. I think I waited about 2 minutes before I took off again into nothing, and basically had a sled ride down, trying to scratch my way around Langdales. Couldn't really find anything, or I didn't have the confidence to go with it, and landed here because I figured at least I could walk up and start getting some more points. So I finally managed to get in the air, towards later in the day, but managed to get the points. Got that same turn point again. Went over towards the east. I can't remember what I think is it. Can't remember what the ridge is. I started feeling a bit nauseous again, so I didn't think there'd be much more filming for me to do. So I kind of just went and did what I could without turning too much. Tried to tag the same waypoint again before landing. But it was I found it was great because it kind of it was exploring the lakes, which I haven't really had the opportunity to do, and it was all on me to kind of find my own route through. There was other pilots, but obviously everyone had a different idea, so everyone was all over the place. The only thing I wanted to get back, I wanted to do was get back, so I could not lose any points I'd managed to scrape together. And it was great. I think I ended up coming fourth, but the guy who won it, I think it was Jack. He got hundreds more than everyone else because he managed to get in the air and just spent all that time flying and getting the waypoint. So yeah, it was a good day for him. With the competitions, you generally get two different types of races. Lapse time, race to goal, so the first person into goal wins, then lapse time, which I hadn't done before. And this was the last day of the LCC. The first day wasn't great weather-wise, so we ended up on A and B comp ended up on this ridge. And the way it kind of works is your elapsed time is the last time that you left the start cylinder is this kind of when you started, and then if you get all the waypoints and get to goal, that's your time. So I flew this, managed to tag the start right towards the end before going up the ridge. I couldn't see this because the start cylinder on the instrument sort of fades out, so you're not sure if you're in the right place or not. And so when I landed, I wasn't sure where I'd come until the end. So it was great just doing this, having a bit of uncertainty towards the prize giving, like how I did, and I ended up winning this day, which I was super happy about. And eventually, had a conversation with Viv earlier on about BP Cup, and she was kind of laughing at me after this, sort of saying, "Yeah, you'll be fine," because it's quite a busy day. So I signed on to the BP Cup, going to Bulgaria, the next place I went to. So this was the tasks we had for Bulgaria. We had one good weather day, and then it kind of deteriorated into a very not great conditions on the last task. But these distances was beyond anything I'd kind of flown before, so this was like totally different. Never really done flatland flying either, so this was very new to me. So there's a lot of new things going on. There's kind of more people at the beginning, but obviously it's quite a big arena, so it's not so busy. But it was great fun. This task, again, I got hit by nausea around about here, so I'd kind of given up, but I was still flying quite reasonably well and had to thermal to get over this hill, and then it was probably after that I decided that I'd had enough and wanted to land. So it was a great experience. I didn't do as well as I thought I could have done, but on a low B, that was probably asking quite a bit too much of the wing and my abilities. But the last task, the takeoff, was quite shallow takeoff area, and I actually taught myself out of flying that day because it was really not nice conditions, and it was only until the meet director said, "Take off now," just generally to the whole group. It's only going to get worse. For some reason, decided that I'm going to go for it. And although it wasn't great conditions, it gave me the confidence in my ability to fly. There was a lot of trees, and I was worried about not being able to hit, having a landing field below me, which is the normal. So it kind of opened my eyes that you can take off when there's no landing field, as in you can fly to where I need to be. It was kind of like a bit of taking away that safety blanket for myself, so it was just kind of tweaking my perception a bit. The BP Cup, I haven't got many pictures of it because I didn't have a camera at the time. I did have a camera, but I deleted the footage for some reason. I thought it was great. Everyone's super helpful, helping out each other out on the day, trying to get the task in all different instruments. I peppered Gareth Aston, meet director, with so many questions about all different competitions, how it all worked, and everyone's super friendly. You're getting a brief on the area. We had I think it was a couple of hour talk on the area, what you could expect, and it was just a fantastic opportunity. And learnt about lead out points, FTV. So this is something I've never really had before, where if you push yourself ahead of the gaggle, you can get extra secret points that I didn't quite understand, but I ended up with a handful, and I was super happy about it, even though I felt like I was at the very back. And some people weren't too I don't know why they weren't too happy about lead out points or the FTV, but because it's not, it wasn't a FAI competition, they could do whatever rules they wanted to do for the competition, and I thought it was great because I could get used to some of the way it worked. Because I'll be carrying on. Sign to fly, something that other competitions you have a sign to fly, which is where they'll set a task, and then it's for you to say, "I'm happy to fly this task," and with that they know who's taking off and who's not. But if you don't sign to fly and you land in goal, your points you've lost all your points. So it's really, I think someone took one for the team, because it's really been drilled into me. You always sign to fly, because if you don't, you're not getting those points back. And getting retrieves as well. Having the knowledge that when you land, there is someone coming to pick you up was great. Instead of like landing and going, where the hell am I? How do I get back? It was a great experience, and it's a great competition. Moving on to 2024, so I got kind of decided that I was going to get big into competitions, or do a lot more competitions. BP Cup, I was like, do the European round, do the Dales round. That was signed off straight away. I wanted my first big competition beyond the BP Cup to be something like the Gin Wide Open, which at the time wasn't running, because it was kind of like a friendly competition with feedback sessions in a standard competition setting. So I ended up signing up for the British Sports Trophy, which was quite a big step up for me at the time, going from the BP Cup to British Sports Trophy, but I just was gagging to go anywhere. And I looked at Tolmin, mountains looked amazing, Slovenia, sign me up. And Krushevo, North Macedonia, it looked amazing, flatland flying and mountains, I'm game for that. So, and also I got myself a new wing. So I decided that finally the wing, I not outgrown the wing, but I could. I had a reason why I wanted to step up when I'm on bar instead of going down, and I could actually go some sort of distance. So decided to finally step up. So to get myself sorted for this, I needed to get my IPPI, which is your international equivalent of your BHPA rating. So if you have a pilot's rating, it's your level 4, and you can also get your level 5 if you get signed off by someone in the club. So you could go to, you have your proficiency for international flying. And WPRS Civil. So this is something I had to sign up for, didn't quite get what it was for, but this is kind of like your points you get from the competition start getting put into a database, which if you get good, points mean you get entry into events and things like that, and you can kind of rank yourself in the world if that's what you're into outside of X contest. So Tolmin, it was very different. I'd never queued to get in the air. This was something that was totally bizarre, but if you've got 120 pilots on a small takeoff, there needs to be some sort of organisation. So get into the hill sorted with 120 pilots, and then start queuing up. People watching you take off, so there's lots of pressure there. It's quite warm, so you're trying to balance that, your layers from the ground, waiting and getting up in orbit. So yeah, that was quite a bit experience, and there was some really shocking ground handling from people I expected more of. So it made me feel a bit better about my skills, because it felt like I was with sky gods at this point. Bigger gaggles as well. So at this point I'd kind of got over my fear of, not fear, but being a bit wary of gaggles. Obviously, I wanted to do well in competitions. I need to get into the gaggles, get flying, get in those thermals. So this was another, big step. But it was great. Everyone was really well behaved. There was no sketchy flying that I witnessed anyway. But it was a lot busier than I'd ever experienced before. Something that BP Cup introduced me to was the level system as well. When you're in a competition, the meet director's kind of monitoring what the conditions for the competition are, like in the air, whether it's a nice nice day, good thermals, whatever. It's like level 1, or there's a thunderstorm brewing and everyone needs to land right now, level 3. So level 1, level 2, level 3. So someone might announce it as level 2, but that's for their personal view, and it's down to the meet director to make a decision. He might think, no, it's fine. Or yes, I can see there's a big storm coming, let's go level 3. So I called levels a couple of times, but I didn't heed my own, what I'd seen, and got caught out quite badly in Tolmin. I should have ran away, not gone to the turn point and then turned back, because I got wet and everyone else was nice and dry on their landing at goal. I wasn't winning or anything, I just really wanted that turn point. So these are the tasks we were doing. So this was the one I got rained on. I think it was this one here. So this was like the most complicated task I've ever flown, but it was great because you could see people all over the sky going in different directions, further along the track or behind you. It was great. Different takeoff than we were. Then the top right was the next day task. This it's quite interesting. Tolmin is known for kind of racing and just going for it, but quite a lot of people got caught out. I think it was on this day and it actually bombed out quite early on because normally the conditions are you'll go to this ridge and it'll just work. But I was just kind of taking my time because it was stunning scenery and I wanted to get to goal. Didn't manage to get to goal that time. But on the last task, which was the furthest I'd ever flown, longest I've been in the air and absolutely stunning scenery, I got to goal in the end and I was super happy. A couple of times I kind of stopped just to, one, admire the view, and two, to be like, right, what's the right decision to do? What are other people doing? And to go. I was an hour after the leader, but I got to goal and I was like, that was me, super happy. And still enjoyed the flight along the way. This is coming away from Cairn, I think. I felt like I was in orbit at this point. And not many people had kind of come this route. I think coming back they had, but not going, and it was just phenomenal, which is another reason why I love competition, going to different places. Then Ozone Krushevo Open. So this is North Macedonia, lots of flat lands. You've got the hills and mountains to fly. You've got the towns, generally are the thermal triggers, like you can see there's I'm in a cloud that's been triggered by, I think a town called Mogola. It was superb, and you could get super high on good days, and we flew a lot, and I had a lot of fun, and was doing better and better each time I was at these competitions. Had a couple of stop tasks, so when you stop the task, generally they'll roll back the time in the air, so I think it's about 5 minutes, so that you aren't just keeping on flying fast, going super fast when you know that the task's going to be stopped to get more points. So if you're super high and the task gets stopped, you get a glide ratio, which is where you would be to kind of give you some points still. Didn't make any difference to my score, but it was just nice to see that was something that happened. And I got to go on one day, which I was super happy with, near the Greek border, which if you cross is 10 grand and a couple of days in jail, I've heard. So I wasn't in any danger of doing that, but it was good to know that I had to land when I did. And the last task on the bottom right was just, I really want to do this flight around the area because it was just stunning. But I wasn't fast enough, and I didn't stay with a gaggle, so I ended up, I was in a gaggle that had climbed out in the north and decided I'll let them go ahead, find where stuff is, and then head after them. And it worked to the first thermal, but then I'd lost them on the next, and I couldn't find another thermal afterwards. So it was another thing to learn, which is, you can slow down, but if you're on your own, it potentially won't work out. So 2025, signed up for some more competitions. I'm getting quite addicted now. BP Cup in the UK, doing the SRS, which is Sports Race Series, so similar to the Northern Challenge Series, where it's lots of different competitions over the year, but it's different locations and it's capped at the ENC. So you have some really good pilots flying these competitions, it was a bit of an experience because they were quite fast. So in Italy, it was challenging conditions again. I think every place I've been to, the conditions haven't been great. Weather's always been a factor. This was interesting that you had 120 pilots flying in and out of the clouds, which was not amazing for me, but I stuck with it and kept myself with the gaggle without running away too much. But when it came to the start, they just everyone was in the right position to get ahead, and I thought I'd done well, but straight away I was behind and I didn't catch up once. I just saw these gliders accelerating away from me. I just watched these keep on going lower, lower, further, further, further. Like, I don't know if you can see, there's like a gaggle here. I think it's this one. I was not risking it. I didn't want to race myself into the ground, so I was taking every thermal I could. But because they were in a gaggle and they had the confidence to go with it, it worked. And well, sometimes it worked, but this was kind of like the next step racing for me, where these guys do not hang around. And I kind of started racing other gliders in my class. So there's only 4 of us in the standard class because it's all photons and GTO3s. The only problem with that and live tracking is I can kind of see where they are in the sky. So there's one lady that I was racing against, saw she was super high towards the end of the track and decided, like, shit, I need to go. I need to get to goal now because there was not many points between us for 3rd place. And I just flew myself into the ground. And at this point, I realised that she was still in orbit and I'm on the ground. And literally all I had to do was get a turn point and then turn back into goal. And that's for me, I still struggle with this where if I'm kind of racing, I'm still not at that point where I'm a fantastic pilot. I need to take a step back and play it safe because I'm still not consistently getting to goal. So yeah. Going back to XC in the UK, so 2025 was, for me, it was quite a good year, going XC flying, and I still had the 100k goal in my mind as something I wanted to do. There was one day in July at Malverns where it felt like every XC hound in the UK was on the same hill, which was insane. Wasn't great because I'd made the right call to take the day off work, but not so great because it was going to be super busy. This was a takeoff. It's probably the most stressful 20 minutes of flying I've ever done because you can't really rig-saw Malverns. There's probably about 40 or 50 pilots in the air, and it was super busy. It wasn't really working. It took 10-15 minutes after taking off for it to actually kick in. Like, the sky looks amazing, but where we were just was not great. So it's super busy, but looking back to where I used to be, it felt like a totally different pilot. I can handle them better than I would have done before. Because before, a couple of years ago, I would have just landed and was like, no chance of this. Which is good because it got too windy and a lot of pilots are stuck on the ground. But this was the flight, so I had to deal with airspace, which I've never done before, really properly in the UK or abroad. As in, it's never been a problem because I'm never that high. Whereas around this area, Birmingham airspace, there are places you need to avoid. So there's something that I've not really had to deal with, and I thought doglegged reasonably well. I kept on running away from some gaggles and flying my own flight. I don't know why, because it made it hard for myself. I seem to struggle to keep myself in a gaggle doing the turn with everyone else instead of like trying to turn it tighter when I'm on maybe a wing that can turn tighter, or if the gaggle is big, you just got to go with the flow sometimes. So I ended up on my own quite a bit. But every time I stopped to turn a thermal, more gliders would come to me because it was obviously working. And towards the end, I got stuck in absolutely horrendous sink. But I was looking at my distance on XC track and it was coming up to 100k. And I got so focused on getting that 100k that I just ignored everything that I'd learned, which was, if you're in mega sink, there's going to be a thermal around. If there's people thermaling to one side, head to them. At least give yourself the opportunity to, get high. I didn't do any of that. I just kept on going into the ground. But I got my 102k, I think it was, on my XC track, so I was super happy. But that's not a straight line, so it ended up being a 97 kilometre flight. But I'm taking it because that was, I saw that number going to 3 digits, so I was super happy. So yeah, it was a good flight. Go back to Khrushchevo, with Nivea Fly Wide Open. So this is like the Gym Wide Open used to be. It's been taken over by James Goldberg, I think. Yes, yeah. And with Toby as Toby Columbia supporting with Yuki. So you get to do the competition thing, fly with other people, learn together, but also have the debrief afterwards, which I find super helpful. You know, like see what decisions other people have made, where their flight ended up, and how they got on. So it was a great event. Some great tasks. Weather again wasn't too great. We had a stop task. That stop task was horrendous. That was on the other takeoff, on the other side of Khrushchevo, so it's a lot smaller and it's in like a little valley. I think I took off and called a level 2 straight away because it was awful. And you had 120 pilots to get in the air, and it just wasn't happening. So I think about 5 people, no, probably like 10 people got over the back, and I think one guy got to goal. Warwick, who was just racing himself because he didn't get the comms that the task had been stopped. But yeah, it was good. And these last 2 tasks were a good example for me about the FTV, where you as you're getting scores on your competition, you're able to drop 25% in this. I think this competition had 25% drop in. So you can do badly on a task and do really well on others and kind of get a good place. So on this task, I remember I was racing with another high B, and he was just edging away from me under me, but got to goal, and I looked at the score and like, oh crap, he's beating me. There's quite a few people beating me, and it was only at this point I started thinking about potentially racing. I was my worst scoring at the point. I was able to drop, but I was in 5th. The guy who I was racing against was this Alexander on the Explorer 2. And the next day, I kind of had it in my head that I was going to get to goal and I was going to get to goal fast. So I pushed out front quite early on. Didn't do too well in the middle bit because I was pushing out on my own, and a lot of people caught up to me, but still, got to goal quite early. And there wasn't that many people around when I landed, so I'm looking at all the gliders, like what gliders are they, flying? Is it C's, is it B's, whatever? Because I wasn't sure where I would come with where I sat before, and it was the last task. So it was only when we were going through the prizes that I realised that I'd won, because the flight I'd done was reasonably well, and it just placed me above. So this was a great one where I wasn't sure what the position would be, and it was a nice surprise to come away with first prize in the standard class, which is EMBs. I think I came 12th overall, but I was super happy because I'd got to go, I'd got a chance to race, and only once kind of raced myself into the ground, which was a nice change. Moving on to the SRS in Niger. This, again, weather wasn't amazing. Had one really good task day, which was 116k task, which was insane for me. Like, I'd never flown that distance at all, but having a competition task like that was insane. So taking off in where we were in Niger, going into Orgagna, which I knew from people doing acro and things like that, sounded amazing. So that was this day, and here's me trying to race a GTO3, which I thought I was doing really well against until he went onto full bar and just disappeared, because I had no more bar to give. Super low cloud-based day, was tricky to deal with, but good experience because I could kind of keep myself up in the air. Third picture along, I went towards that rock thinking it was going to work, saw some birds, thought they were thermally out, they weren't, and I realised when I got there I was in horrendous sink, and I turned back and there was nowhere for me to land. It was a really narrow valley coming in, and it looks nice over there, but the sink, I felt like the sink was that bad I would never have made it. So I ended up landed in this little postage stamp of grassland. So it was a bit of an eye-opener of, even though I'm in a competition and it's retrieves, I've still got to land safely, and I've got to be aware of what the conditions are like, and having somewhere to put down if needs be. And then the last one is something that I really struggle with, which is patience. So I'm looking over the back at the ground. it's clouded out. I'm literally at the back, stuck on this ridge. The thermal's really out working, so I waited about 45 minutes on this ridge, just beating back and forth. Most people landed by that time, but I could wait for the opportunity to get high and get over the back safely, and that was kind of another thing for me, which I was happy with, which is learning patience finally, because it does pay off sometimes. Bit about equipment. So this is what I flew with in Azure. So not really much has changed in terms of my instruments, phone, XC Tracer Max, got a remote there which I don't use. You've got a tracker, so this is really useful if you want to send, SOS, you'll hurt yourself, or, the level of the competition, level 1, level 2, level 3, you can kind of send that over the tracker. And as well, the comp director can send messages onto the tracker, which is super useful. Would have been useful in Italy, where for 2 tasks, someone was radio transmitting constantly, all throughout the task. And that happened again on Azure. I'm guessing it was probably the same guy. And they finally put a message on the tracker to check radios. That's why it's got it on my dashboard, so I know if I'm transmitting or not. I'm not going to be that person, because I turned my radio off a couple of times, which is never good. So this was the task for the 116K, which is an insane task. I bombed out in Tremp, which is where a lot of people bombed, but this tool got introduced to me, XE Stats, where you can, a lot of competitions get their IGCs thrown in, and then you can go through the task, pick out people and watch where they went. So you can see a lot of people had the same idea, apart from over Tremp, it's kind of got people cutting the corner or just bombing out down around that area. And as you progress on, you can see there's less and less tracks where people were bombing out. And it's a great tool to look back at your own flights, compare yourself against others and how you did. And as the Photons and the GTO3s were doing the scene, which wing was actually the fastest. So what's next? More competitions for me, because I enjoy them. Exploring new sites, because you can't go wrong with exploring the world a bit more. South America, looking at going next year. Looking at stepping up to an ENC 2-liner Delta 5, which is a low aspect ratio. I feel like I'm at a point where I can I could handle it well without potentially having to step back, but I'm not going to get myself like the top wing and scare myself. But if I'm doing more competitions, I can't compete, or I don't have the skills to compete with ENCs. But some people can, I can't. So I'm going to take the step onto that, and fly bigger and more XCs. So last slide. This is just looking back, a couple of points that I've noticed to myself. So I've become a more confident pilot from being in competitions. More flying is always good, but competitions have helped me quite a lot. Get the opportunity to talk to a lot more talented pilots and what they're thinking about the day and their plans and things like that, and equipment choices and things. It's always good. I've realised you can how fast you can push it and how low you can get and actually come back. So if you're ridge running in Slovenia, you can hit the ridge quite low and work your way back up. It works. Filming skills, as you'd probably not be surprised, are pretty key in the sport. Gaggles, I should stop running away from them because they work, and I'm going to be flying a lot longer if I stay with them. Read the books. There's lots of books on the subject. If you read them, the knowledge is there. You've just got to pick up the book and take it in. I still don't read as much as I should do on the subject, which I'm lacking on. I didn't really know how to phrase this, but go with the gaggle. But as Richard had in his talk last month, if you make a different decision, that could be the decision that gets you into better conditions or get you where you need to be faster. So it's kind of go with the flow or maybe potentially push out. So it's a bit of a contradictory one. Do reflection. So look at the flights you've had. Feedback on yourself, and you can pull bits and pieces of information out. Like patience is super important for me because I'm not patient enough. I'm better than I used to be, but it's still an issue. Competition for me, getting in the air early just to get an idea of what the sky's doing, Obviously, it doesn't work if the sky's not working yet, which I found in North Macedonia, and spent an hour trying to get myself back up to takeoff height. Just get to goal, so don't race yourself into the ground. If you can consistently get yourself into goal, then you can start racing, or that's what I'm telling myself anyway. And communications, if you've got people you can fly with and communicate with, I think it's pretty good. If you get that feedback, what's working, what's not, yeah. And that's me. Apologies, that's probably gone over the time quite a bit.
That's pretty good.
Any questions? Hopefully that was maybe some use and slight entertainment.
You know when you go XC, rather than do a competition, you go XC, you choose your own route.
Yeah.
You're going for distance. Do you find which one do you find more? I mean, you love competitions, but which one do you find more exciting? Do you like the idea that perhaps you go XC on your own and make your own decisions rather than have to go around the route?
Yeah.
How do you compare those two things?
I think if when I've been at a place where been doing a competition and the sky looks epic to go XC, I'm just not looking at that going, oh, I wish I was XC. It's always, when I'm doing a competition, I'm doing it for that reason. But doing XC in the UK, if I can do that, go further, explore the country a bit more, it's amazing. I'm not really, I don't know if I choose one or the other. It's partly why I'm doing competitions is to have a plan and go somewhere new and have a bit of an organisation around it, because I'm not great at going, I want to go to this country and explore this area. If it's like, oh, I can go there and do this competition, I'll go for that. So I think it's the structured competitions I really like, as well as the competition itself. And I don't quite have the confidence to book my own XC trips away from the UK. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else? Cool.
Well, I'll just say thank you very much indeed, Elliott.
No problem.
Speaking as somebody well into the twilight of his career, it's refreshing to see somebody with the enthusiasm and the desire to push yourself and learn, but also it's great to see how sensible you've been at it and taking it at the right kind of pace, and the fact that you're still intact is testament to that. And touch wood, continue that way. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think it was great. And before we get to the snacks and nibbles, Mr. Ed Gleesby has got something he'd like to do before we leave. Welcome, Ed. And to our neck of the woods.
First of all, thank you for giving me 5 minutes of your time at the end. And by the way, that was a super presentation, Elliott.
Thank you.
I don't want you to think I'm stalking you. It's an age thing. But I actually like following the progress of young pilots. And I've seen you come through from about 21. And I've got about half a dozen on the radar that I like watching and seeing how they do. So it's really good. And I was struck by your honesty, your openness, and humility. You know where you're at and you're taking it nice and steady. You know when you're making mistakes and you know when you're getting it right. Thank you also for mentioning the NCS, the Northern Challenge Series. I stood here in 2018, obviously a musician here, and I started the Northern Challenge Series then. It's now been going 7 years. And I emphasised the point about it being about pilot progression, regardless of the level you're coming into it at. Giving you a focus for the day, but it's also got a sort of inbuilt competition as well, because some people do like competition, so you can not only download the task, fly the task, you can upload your IGC and you can get a score. This year, the season finished on the 31st of October. It runs from the 1st of Feb to the end of October, so it just finished, and I thought it would be nice if I could do the presentations tonight, at the home club of the winner. What's mine at? So Elliott actually won the main series in 2022. I was checking the plaques. I got this back off Jacob Aubrey this afternoon. So I just quickly had a look through the plaques to see who'd been winning it now for the last 7 years. So, well done, Elliott.
Thank you.
I haven't got this year's plaque on, but I will send you it.
Okay.
If people haven't seen it, because you've got to have an incentive to go for things, it's quite a nice trophy, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's like most things, actually. I design and make them myself. It's something to do, isn't it? A bit of work. So, it's a nice little trophy there. But Elliott hasn't just won that, because Elliott was flying this year on an ENB Kuma. You've also got the sports trophy, because a few years ago I was aware that there were people going around it on ENDs, the tasks, Enzos, and racing it, because you could attack the tasks at that level where it becomes I know I can do the task, but I'm going to race it. It's all about speed, because there are speed points as well. So we decided to have a sports class. It did start with ENCs, then it became 2 liners. So we moved it down to ENBs. So Elliott, you've seen these before. Did you get the sports class?
Yeah,
I can't
the
remember.
first year I think I got both, yeah.
I'm looking at the trophies. Plaques. Yes, 2020. Actually, yeah, you won it in 2022, both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good
So
start.
that has a glass thingy sits on there as well. So, well done, Elliott. And if I could have you out, Elliott, please, and if someone could take a photograph perhaps with my camera. I would encourage people to have a go at the tasks. Some people get really into it, some of them probably try, but there is a reason they're there, and I think it might help progress people flying right. So we'll just have it. Okay, there you go, Elliott. Oops. I mean, he made it and broke it as well in the same.
Right, I think it's taken. Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
it's better out. Should just go for it.
Yeah.
There you go. I'll give you all that. Thank you very much. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ed. Well done, everybody, and thank you very much for coming. There is now refreshments being served outside in the bar. Jump in.